Yeah. Yeah?
Ah, there we go.
Alright.
It's a little slow there.
Yeah, it was. And I'm offset.
Yes. All right. So, what's up, guys? We are here with the 33rd episode of Frag Logic. Joined by Skyllus, co-host. What's up, buddy?
Not too much.
How's your gaming these days? What are you playing? What are you doing?
Just Dota.
You're hooked.
Yep. I'm really torn on if I want to get GTA or not. Because it's kind of like, if I don't get GTA, I'm probably not buying anything until next gen.
Yeah, so I actually didn't pick up GTA, and I actually made a video Sunday night asking, basically Monday, asking if I should get GTA, and everyone's like, oh, you got to get it. And I saw one specific guy said something like, and I can't remember who it is, maybe Brendover Boy, something like that. But he said, don't get GTA 5. It's basically GTA 4 with horrendous foot movement and terrible gameplay mechanics or something like that. I was like, wow, that's pretty harsh.
So basically GTA 4?
It's basically GTA 4. So, yeah, that was probably the most negative thing I saw out of...
I mean, who's going to say, like, if you post on your YouTube, it's like, so, do you guys want to get some new content from a new game? Nah, it's alright. Don't buy it. Save your money.
No,
not their money. They're not worried about your wallet.
Don't worry about that. You don't need to worry about that.
Just saying.
So yeah, let me see. What games am I playing right now? I play Battlefield 3 on PC. Playing that. Playing Smite again. Dive Kick a little bit. I'm playing just a bunch of games, dude.
It's because you weren't playing for a week and a half. Can I catch up?
Yeah, I know. Let me see. What else am I playing? There's another game I can't think of off the top of my head that I downloaded. Can't remember. I have to look at Steam.
Hearthstone too. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Hearthstone. Yeah, I tried out Card Hunters as well. Hearthstone's fun.
You know what game I'm missing? Planetary Annihilation.
Yeah. I don't think we can say anything else about that though.
Yeah, we can't really say anything else, but that's the other game we were playing. So
we played.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are all the things that I think I'm pretty much playing, but let's get into some GTA 5. I really don't want to talk too much about the game. I don't know how many people are that are watching have actually purchased the game already, so I don't know if we're spoiling anything. I guess at this point it's pretty much fair game since the game is out, and you can go read reviews. But the big thing I think that has been, and I kind of tweeted about it, was the whole misogynistic critiques that GTA is getting. This particular one is getting, and I think the only point that I see that's been brought up that you can say, okay, let's talk about that, is that there's three protagonists in this, three characters that you can switch between, and that has led a lot of, I don't know how many people, but there's been an outcry from some of the gamers out there that have saying that there should be a female protagonist as a playable character. Now, Colin, you seem to feel like that's fair game, like they should. Am I misinterpreting your general feelings, or are you saying that's just a fair argument?
I think it's something that you can talk about. Yeah. Like, as far as like if they should have, I mean, that's entirely up to them, right? Like, you're not going to complain that an author didn't write any female parts or anything like that if you enjoyed the book. Like, it's just not something that's really going to happen. So I guess, like, from that aspect, it's fine. But I mean, it's something that you can't bring up. It's be like, hey, why doesn't Rockstar write a strong role for women? Like, especially when the game subject matter is very often derogatory towards women. I mean, it's the nature, like, what the stories are trying to make, and obviously their characters are heavily flawed, so it's not like it's heroes or anything like that. They're always super fucked up.
Yeah, they're all scumbags.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's the thing. Maybe writing a scumbag woman part that comes across as not misogynistic is the actual challenge there.
Well, yeah, I mean, in what way could they portray a woman? And I'm not this is a very touchy subject in general in gaming. Trying to talk about the female, especially on a show where I don't think we've had we might have had a female participants in the chat. I know Brutality has been in there a couple times, and we did when we were doing Active Reload. She was on the show a couple times.
Spoilers: neither of us are women.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
None of us are women. Christy sometimes popped in and said hi. But that's about as far as it goes. Ayana has been in our chat a couple times, and I know a lot of the PMS Frag Dog girls, and I really haven't gotten their views specifically on what I feel like is oftentimes. I'm gonna play this like the race card, and this is kind of how I feel about it. In America, and it's starting to be a growing thing that I've kind of seen the last 5 years or so, since Obama's been in office. When a black person says, oh, that was racism, you'll see people like, man, this is getting old. Like, why are you still talking about this? Like, get over it. You're trying to play the pity card, all this stuff. And I won't say that there's, like, as an African American, I will say that there's always some sketchy times. There's always times where you feel uncomfortable. And I would never be like, oh, man, pity me because this guy didn't like me because of the color of my skin. And in gaming, I feel like women, some, have really played the pity card with the views on, and it's just kind of the parallels. I mean, you get it here, and I'm not a woman, so it's only what I can see and what I've kind of heard, and some of it is exaggerated to great lengths. Other things are very accurate, and so it's like, where do you cross the line? And this is where GTA 5 has been like one of those things where it's kind of I got to talk about it, and it's just like I don't see it. We're in the 5th game. We're talking about a game that plays on race, plays on stereotypes, is derogatory. Why on earth, even if they have 3 rotating characters, could you even bring up an argument saying it's misogynistic? They played the race card. They're racist as hell. I mean, they do all this types of stuff, and you're talking about in the game. I mean, there's just blatant stuff in there, and you're saying, oh man, woe is me. Why don't I have a female role? Well, in Tomb Raider, why can't I have I want a male lead in Tomb Raider right now.
Uncharted.
And Uncharted, I want a female role.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider, Uncharted, but they're not the same though. They're not the same. I mean, you could say Nathan Drake is the equivalent of
Lara
Tomb
Croft.
Raider, of Lara Croft, but it's not the same. That's not in the same universe. It's not
Could
the
they
same
be?
universe.
Could they be?
They could be. I'm not arguing that that's not possible, but why is it? Why can't I play? Why can't
Just
I
saying.
play?
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. But usually, in most cases, there isn't necessarily a female equivalent in gaming to whatever the male lead is.
So
There's also usually not a black equivalent. There's usually not a Hispanic equivalent. Again, it's parts that are written for that role, and you could say the same thing about Hollywood for most of the same arguments.
Yeah.
It's definitely a hard thing to even talk about, considering that I can't relate to
exactly
any of it really.
Yeah, as a woman, I can't. Or as
Why aren't there more fat white guy roles? Just saying. Why is there always gotta be a handsome dude? Woe is me. Woe is me.
I mean, as a man, it's really difficult to talk about this. Maybe we need a female player out there, gamer, on the show to talk about this more in depth, so we can get. Maybe we'll ask Brutality next week, or Ayane, or someone that I personally know that can, talk about how we feel. Because I'm not at all saying that it's unjust. And there's Ayane.
Yanni's actually in the chat, yeah.
But it's one of those things where if you aren't that gender, if you aren't that race, you can't really speak on it. So
even then, the opinions are going to vary wildly from one person to another. I don't think that there's a blanket argument that applies to everyone.
Exactly.
No matter how you look at it.
And as an example, V-Ball Chick commented on me. She was like, I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm perfectly fine with the game. It's cool. And then, you ask someone else, you look at the reviews on GameSpot, they're like, oh man, this is why aren't there no females? What's up? It's all misogynistic. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's a very touchy subject, one that I think will continue to grow, and there's oftentimes parallels, not only in the games themselves but also in the industry, with women roles in the industry, or you can even play the race card there. You can say African Americans in the industry is as a whole. It's like scarce. So I mean, such a touchy subject, but I feel like, in terms of fans reacting to it and saying that they need to add DLC in or put in a character, you know what this reminds me of?
Mass Effect.
Fucking Mass Effect. I'm sorry, and this is where
fans should have no input into
zero
narrative. Yeah.
When a movie is done, you don't sit there and say, I mean, there's director cuts and whatnot, but they're not going to reshoot the fucking movie because you didn't like the ending. Get over it.
That's right, though. In video games, we make it happen.
Get over it, dude.
We can recast everyone.
That's so bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's where the parallels is. I was very upset that BioWare got so distraught, and they felt like, oh man, fans really were down on this. We built up this character, and we couldn't have this type of ending. So let's try to. And they didn't necessarily change it, but they tried to work around it. And there's just this big outcry. There was petitions and just bullshit. Like, what are you doing? Like, I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing? I could see if it was a Kickstarter game or something like that, or free-to-play game, or something along those lines. But you want the story to end and you want it to change?
Even then, I can't see any case where I'd support changing the narrative that was the original vision. But I can't see any case where that would make sense, like to just change a part of a story because of fan reaction.
And I mean, I think the only thing that I could really take away from GTA, in terms of having, especially with the way these three characters supposedly interact with each other, based off of what I've kind of read and saw, is that a female character in this story would definitely add more to the kind of the dialogue between the characters and how they kind of interact with each other. I think that there's a compelling argument for potential for a story that has a female with this type of rotating character plot to maybe add to the dialogue. But if that wasn't their original vision, I mean, just
you're talking about writing an entirely different narrative when you change one of the three.
So I mean, that's the only compelling argument I could see. But that would have happened.
At the
very beginning, exactly. That would have had to have been the vision that they saw for the game, and it's clearly not.
Yeah. Again, that'd be difficult too. Yeah. Like I said, I feel like the topic as a whole deserves a lot more thought and perspective than either of us can give.
Either of us. I totally agree.
Yeah. Like, that's really what it comes down to for the whole misogynistic thing. As far as narrative, I'll happily say that video games shouldn't be able to change games shouldn't be pressured into changing their narrative based on community response ever.
Yeah.
I think we're in agreement, yeah.
Definitely. So, I mean, if there's anything else that you guys want to add, I think the other parallel in games, you said Tomb Raider, Uncharted. I believe in Saints Row you can customize your character to look however you want.
Saints Row, you can be where the fuck you want. But
so,
there's also not exactly a rich narrative when you're the president of the United States defending against alien invasion by whapping people upside the head with a big purple dildo. Like, I don't think there's a comparison between that and the type of story Rockstar is trying to tell with the three psychopaths.
You can change your character in Saints Row 4 and the story
doesn't change.
Whatever you want.
Well, really, the story stays the same. Just you're now a female.
Exactly. So.
Same thing with Mass Effect.
Yeah, same exact thing there. But this is definitely a topic that I want to talk more about. Maybe we could talk about it more in terms of industry as a whole, perhaps. and get a couple different people on to talk about it that way versus just staying on topic with this game. I will say I feel like as of right now, we're completely in agreement that the narrative, you can't touch that. Just shut up about it. Take it like a man or woman. Just take it. That is the narrative. That is what they wanted.
Quit being misogynistic.
And
exclusionary.
And in terms of the content in GTA, they've always been on the edge. So, I mean, derogatory, misogynistic, stereotypical. That's what you expect in Grand Theft Auto. I mean, half the things,
all the characters, almost every character in the game is going to be a blown up stereotype.
Yeah, every school shooting that we see for the next 2 years is going to be because of GTA 5. So, whatever, it is what it is. So, that's all I want to talk about there. Now I'm going to let you go ahead and get into the tournament stuff.
And some lighter news. So there's a couple big tournament announcements this week. I guess the first one we'll talk about is MLG. They announced a $50,000 Dota 2 tournament for MLG Columbus. They kind of been hinting they were going to do something with Dota 2 for a while now. And this was kind of like their big first tournament. They've been doing some streams with amateurs, like amateur game battles qualifier type deal. That covered a few of the slots, but I think the big news here is that not only are they doing a $50,000 Dota 2 tournament, but they actually got Na'Vi, Alliance, and Fnatic coming out. Plus one. They're still trying to work with what the fourth one will be. I got my fingers crossed for DK with their new roster in China, but that could be a pain for visas, so we'll see what happens. And the thing that's kind of significant here is that a few months back they announced there'd be no StarCraft at MLG Columbus. So currently, as the event stands, it's a 8-team Dota 2 invitational and Call of Duty, and that's it. So essentially, Dota has replaced StarCraft to a point where it's just Dota and COD, but it's kind of a really small Dota event.
Yeah.
So,
what can we've talked about StarCraft here and there, and I think on one episode someone tried to call us out and say that we weren't involved in the StarCraft scene, so we had no input, like we couldn't offer input based off of watching some events. I believe it was a player that I didn't know, something like that. I didn't specifically know him, but we've been around esports for a while, and StarCraft has been pretty much a powerhouse in getting esports to where it is today. And do you think that this is a sign, and this is something that is, I think, on the minds of a lot of StarCraft players, is this a sign that StarCraft is on the down? Or can that community just stay consistent, like maybe the Counter-Strike community, and they'll always be able to generate 50 to 100,000 views at any given time, depending on the matchups?
I think it's indicative of the fact that Blizzard might have mishandled the WCS thing entirely. They've kind of, the way they handle things led to MLG just kind of like going completely hands off with it, which in North America at least, that's going to severely hurt StarCraft, because while we have NASL, it's never really on the same level as an MLG event. I know that the StarCraft community has their qualms with like what MLG's done in the past and some of the issues they've had, but at the same time, like, MLG is the largest tournament league in North America, and it's pretty much the only, I think you could argue it's the only tournament league in North America really, that's on the scale of stuff like DreamHack and GSL and the stuff that's going on in Korea and China.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only one that's really able to compete, and IEM is another one, in Europe. So it will definitely hurt there. I think that if you just look at the viewer numbers, you can see that StarCraft is slowly on the decline.
Slowly, yeah.
It's more of a matter of where they'll kind of peak out and what Blizzard can do between now and whenever to kind of push things. And I can kind of lead that into the next point of conversation when you already mentioned it. DreamHack announced they're doing a $250,000, which is a big purse. I know like we've thrown around a lot of big numbers recently for League and Dota and stuff. But $250,000 is a big tournament.
It's pretty big.
So $250,000 Counter-Strike Go tournament that is crowdfunded. They had eSports weapons crates in the game that went as drops. You could buy keys to unlock the crates for like $250 or something like that, and then you got weapon skins was what they had inside the crates.
Okay.
So the money from that, at the time, they just said kind of generically, it was like, yeah, this will go towards supporting esports events in the future. Like, that's all they really broadly said, which is different than what they did with the International, where it was like, buy the compendium, exactly this much of the money is going into the pot for this tournament, and here's the track to see all your progress, right?
Right.
So this was done in the background. There was no tracking. The announcement kind of came out of nowhere. So $250,000 to DreamHack for CSGO. There was already some discussion on Twitter this morning from it's actually shit. Make sure I got his name right. I follow him and I feel bad for not. I just don't want to say it. It's the guy from Turtle Entertainment who does ESO. And they've been kind of like the only banner holder for Counter-Strike for a little while now. And it's Roald Van Buren.
I can't remember. Yeah, there we go. He's emailed me before, actually.
Wait, no, he was the one that was complaining. Shit. See, now I feel bad. I didn't look it up. Whatever. He's actually the Face-It guy. Who was also running Counter-Strike leagues and stuff. Anyways, the Turtle Entertainment people were upset because the money went right to DreamHack, all of it, and they're spending it all in one tournament versus spreading it out across multiple tournaments, which they feel would have been more beneficial for the Counter-Strike scene, which kind of sparked a pretty interesting conversation back and forth between a few people, Slasher and Scoots, and a few of the Counter-Strike guys as far as like what would be the most beneficial. And I thought it was a kind of interesting discussion because this is really... The crowdfunded tournament stuff, I think, is the future.
I agree.
Of esports, at least the immediate future. I think that the long-term future would be something more along the lines of sports leagues, since that's what we have as an example, you know. Oops, I just muted my shit.
Hey, Charles.
There we go. No, I muted my audio. So yeah, okay. I think that's the long-term future, but the immediate future is crowdfunding, and Valve has now proven it twice. With the International and then now with CSGO, two completely different games. They even took two completely different approaches to how that money got kind of counted in terms of it was behind the scenes for CSGO and then it was kind of in front of everyone and up front for Dota. And in Dota's case, they had a big prize pot initially. In this case, it sounds like it all came from the weapon crates sales. And also, weapon skins are, as far as I know, like way easier to do than Dota models. Yeah. In terms of the actual physical content that they sold. So really, I feel like the people that bought the crates were probably buying it specifically to support the tournaments. Which is what I was getting into when I say I think that it's the immediate future.
Yeah.
So the question I wanted to pose was, do you think that any other titles could benefit from crowdfunded tournament purses?
Yes. Every single free-to-play shooter could benefit from that wants to go into esports could benefit from this because of the model that they had. And if we want to go to some of the box products that could probably benefit from this, Call of Duty, definitely. Gears of War probably could have. Halo. And it's mostly because all of them introduced cosmetics that act as like that microtransaction that you can directly track and go into a pot, and
right.
then you can quickly iterate. Let's say, for example, for the DLC for Black Ops, they could have added a specific set of weapon skins that you could purchase that would go towards their next the COD Championships. That's an excellent way to crowdfund it, and the community there is huge. So, yep. I mean, that's an example of where if they just adopted that, you wouldn't have. I don't know if this would necessarily happen, but you wouldn't necessarily have the publisher or sponsors or whoever trying to front all this money, and then if you can't deliver, yes, Smite could also benefit from that, Sean. You could deliver a much more compelling season or structure for how you plan these events, and whether or not
Without having to do it yourself.
Yeah, without having to do it yourself. That's the most important thing. Now, whether or not DreamHack having one big event for CSGO or them spreading it out over a season, I mean, at what point do you say, okay, if we're going to spread it out over the season, we'll do stuff in online, we're going to give... I think that really muddles it a little bit. If they say, like, we're going to have 3 events and we're going to spread it out over each event, and in between those events you can buy up or rebuy, or we're going to make new skins for each event, then yeah, you can structure it that way. But I don't really see this as non-beneficial in any way that they structure it, because
it's beneficial no matter what, because it's an event that probably wasn't going to happen, or was going to have like 15K or something like that to begin with.
So there's no downside. So you can argue semantics over, hey, we should spread this out or do it another way. You say, no, I mean, if this is what they're going to have, then do one event, make a new one, do the next event using the same way.
If it's sustainable, I guess that's the real question, is if it's sustainable for repeat purchases when you're having more than one event a year. Like, the International has the advantage of just being like, hey, this is funding for this one big thing that happens once a year. But if you try to sustain a community throughout it, that might not have otherwise been sustainable, then that's where I think it gets kind of tricky as to what you should have done. And really, I guess, at the end of the day, it's without funding, can they afford to keep having tournaments throughout the year to keep the scene alive?
I'd say no. I mean, look at the history of esports at this point. How many leagues have gone under? How many people haven't been paid? How many issues have people had with the financial side, or it's only top 4 getting paid, or the prizes not being efficient, or just the payoff for practicing for 3 months or 4 months for an event, and then only getting 4,000 for first place, or what do we get? 8,000 for first place for an event, which is $2,000.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it in that kind of retrospective of the time that you put on versus the investment, if you think about it in terms of the investment, this definitely makes sense from a competitor standpoint. I mean, there's just no question about it. The only issue that I have, I think, is we have seen this one other time, and I don't think it wasn't in game, but it was with the same people, so to speak. And I don't know if it just wasn't compelling enough. I don't know if they didn't structure it right. Maybe they didn't think about it well enough. But MLG did this. The gold memberships. They were supposed to go towards prize pots and give you HD passes. And I actually canceled mine this past year. I didn't mean to, but I changed my credit card because it expired this past summer. And I can watch an HD stream at any given time. And that was the only benefit of really pulling in there, other than supporting the community. But now if I want to say I'm going to support the Dota 2 community, what am I going to do? Buy a compendium, right?
Yeah. It's actually, I guess it's pretty interesting, because with the funding shifting away from the leagues and towards the game developers, you're more supporting the game's lifespan rather than that specific league, right? Like, no matter how they spend their money, like, in this case, the only way I would be upset is if I was, like, a North American player that wanted to go to a North American LAN and that's what you were expecting when you spent the money. Like, I personally like the fact that the Dota method was way more transparent. I think that that's something which... I think transparency, when you're doing something like this, is really important. I think that that could have benefited quite a bit. Hell, it might even made them make more money. Like, if they had said outright, like, hey, we're raising money for a big-ass Dota 2, or for a big-ass Counter-Strike tournament in DreamHack, Like, saying that outright instead of the vague, hey, we're raising money for eSports. Like, that probably would have actually gotten them more money, as well as let people know what their money was going towards.
I agree.
But at the end of the day, obviously, it's positive in every aspect. It's just a matter of how they would have spent it. My concern is that they'll hold the $250,000 tournament, and then nothing happens for 3 months or whatever. There'll be like some small tournaments here and there, but there's nothing to work towards. You know what I mean? Because there's no established yearly tournament. There's no, like, you're just kind of going from tournament to tournament as they're announced. and then you're just hoping that Valve throws you a bone at some point, and that'll be the next tournament.
The interesting thing about Valve, to me at least, is they have 3 very compelling products that could be marketed to the esports community: 2 shooters, and TF2, and Counter-Strike, and then they have Dota 2. And if they just look at the model for Dota 2 and they say esports is definitely something that people will spend money on regardless of the community size, I don't see why they can't say that a cosmetic item that goes towards a prize pool once a year isn't a compelling argument for continuing to do yearly tournaments.
I think part of that is also that, and I guess this is the issue with the discrepancy, is that Valve isn't actually the developer of CSGO. The primary developer is Hidden Path, and then Valve is actually like the co-developer.
Co-developer? Okay.
So I'm guessing there's some overlap there, which ends up causing the types of discrepancies like that. It's like, hey, we're going to do crates, we're going to do keys, but then how it's done is just like slightly scattered just, between the departments. Or it could have just been a big experiment for them as well. I mean, that's another possibility.
Yeah, which is what Sean just said. That could be totally possible. But, I mean, clearly I think Dota has definitely shown that this can be successful when you have a huge population.
Yeah.
And, I mean, $250,000 is nothing to scoff at. Like, I would have been happy to have a $250,000 Gears of War tournament at any point in time, from Gears of War 1 all the way up to Gears of War 3, when I think that Gears of War 3 probably could have been the one that could have had something substantial like this.
Honestly, we probably had player counts pretty similar to CSGO. Like,
very, very similar. 50,000 is their concurrent right now if you check.
That's what I was just...
daily average. And if you look at Gears 3's concurrent at its peak, I mean, I think the numbers were significantly higher than that. So,
or at least close.
I would argue that this could definitely work at some level, some degree, across multiple major titles.
It has to be through the game, though, because like primarily the reason you do it is to support the developers, in addition to supporting the league. Like, I think that the fact that 75% of like compendium sales is going to Valve to offset the tournament costs, and then 25% went to the league. I think that's important versus something like the MLG membership, where you're just like, you're just paying for that tournament, right, or that league.
Yeah, you don't know, and not only that, but they weren't transparent. They didn't really tell us.
No, like my money probably went towards StarCraft.
Yeah, like they didn't say what it went towards. Did it go towards making the production better, just supporting the league, keeping it afloat, or did it go towards prize pots? I mean, there was nothing that was very clear about how they did their memberships. So, yeah, I think that more studios need to look at what Valve is doing and say, we need to try that, especially AAA titles that have competitive followings of the same caliber as Counter-Strike or Dota.
I'd argue it scales to anything, really. Like, as long as you have at least a small group of people that's interested in competitive play, and you have a larger group of people that's interested in cosmetic items, then like that combination is always going to at least produce a small enough tournament where you can run something legit. Like $5,000 again. Like Gears tournaments were what, 15 grand for a total prize pool? Less than that. It's 12, 13.
8421. 8421. I think is what it was.
Yeah.
What was that?
So 15.
Yeah. So.
And that was for a LAN thing. If you do it online, then if I was playing like a $5,000 tournament on Deadies, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I would have been happy to play that on Gears 3, knowing that they were dedicated, but they didn't have the infrastructure to really do that. But needless to say, I would definitely support that concept.
That's the future.
It's the future. I totally agree. Is that it?
We talk about Blizz? Talk about the Blizz?
We're talking about Blizz. This is huge.
I was surprised. This actually surprised me, even though I know they just released the console version without it.
Blizzard.
As we talk all cryptically.
Yeah.
Blizzard's removing the auction house from Diablo 3. Both gold and real money.
Do you have the comment from someone that?
Oh man, let me see if I can dig it. It was probably one of the first one.
Please, I want you
All
to
right.
read it.
You go ahead and go over everything. I'll see if I can find that comment.
All right, so for those of you guys that don't know it, let me grab the link for you guys. We actually played Diablo 3 for a month. This was the game that made me buy my PC. Do you remember how hype I was to get my PC right before last year in whatever April or May when they came out? I was like, I got to get my PC so we can play Diablo, because I was a Diablo 2 just absolute fiend. Addict, if you want to call it. Either one. I played a lot of Diablo 2, so I had, for the most part, I had stopped PC gaming, and when Diablo 3 was announced and they said that they were going to do this real money auction house, we kind of saw, I think there were reservations from everyone. If you knew how auction houses worked, you're probably like, I don't know, is it going to be, and this is what we were talking about at work, is this going to be an Excel spreadsheet of me trying to figure out the best times and the rates and basically the economy of how things were working versus what you were used to. And so there was a lot of controversy in it, and in addition to them launching with the DRM stuff. So I mean, there was a lot of hiccups with this, but basically, if you look at what the community is saying now, most of them on the PC would tell you that the auction house has completely ruined or killed off or destroyed or makes people not want to play Diablo. And basically, for in-game content, the only way for you to be efficient, at least I feel like this, Colin, I mean, I don't know how far we've really gotten in game. I felt like we were pretty far, but the only way you could do anything is if you went into the auction house and tried to buy something. And we were still very early in that phase of the auction house.
Yeah, you had a point where you gear up completely, and that involved filling slots in your set with auction house stuff.
And it was just impossible. It was either impossible to get stuff because it would be gone too quickly, or they were priced in a manner that was just unrealistic unless you were literally on that game for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So the fact that Blizzard has actually looked at this and said, for whatever reasons, it's kind of a mystery. I don't think they're going to openly say why they've decided to do this, but to get rid of the auction house and say, yeah, this was a bad decision. Sorry, guys. I think there's a lot of repercussions, but does this really save anything? Does this save the community? Maybe. Does it help?
I don't know. I mean, they're removing the auction house at the same date as their expansion pack. So that's in itself is going to be a huge positive for people buying that. And I imagine some of that will overlap with people who just enjoyed the story of the first one and like the general kind of theme. Obviously, like personally, the first playthrough of Diablo was my favorite because I got to see all the crazy ass cutscenes and up until the end, like the fourth act sucked, but the rest of it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
At least the first playthrough. It was actually grinding it and doing the metagame stuff, which is usually super fun in Diablo that wasn't fun. The big surprising thing to me, though, is that when they released the game, I know myself, I believe almost everyone else said, hey, with them accepting real money for gold and for items, they can't really go back on this. You know what I mean? Because people are going to be pissed because they invested money.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to read this comment, which I found. I literally just clicked through to see what people were thinking. I saw this gem. So the post says, and I'm quitting. Let all the whiners cry all they want until they get you to remove the one aspect of the game that brings me back. Cold hard cash, buddy. Before you're going to do the big bend over long hard screw is all your pros to really put time into this game. You think I could put down more than 1,800 hours of gameplay if you guys wouldn't have paid me out more than $20,000? Hell no. Not to mention you aren't even making revenue on WoW anymore because it's loads of fail. You guys are going to drive your company into the ground because of a bunch of whiners. Good job. I'm gone. Thanks for wasting my time.
Oh, wait. Can you just read that? Just read it one more time, Colin. You gotta read that one more time, please.
Can't, man. Yeah. Cold hard cash, buddy.
That cold, yeah.
He's-
Cold hard cash,
But
buddy.
who you're really giving the big bend over, long, hard screw is to all the pros who put the time into your game.
Oh God, that is excellent. That is excellent.
It was so good. I died. I just closed the page. That was the last bit of feedback I wanted to see. For the most part, it's been positive, but that's the side of things where it's like people are making money, A, people are spending money, B, and a bunch of people are like flipping stuff for profit, and you kind of screw them over.
That cold hard cash, baby.
Cold hard cash, buddy.
Oh man, I want a T-shirt with that now. Oh man, Diablo 3, cold hard cash, buddy.
So, yeah, I personally was surprised because I did feel like they kind of pinned themselves into a corner where it was like, if this isn't successful, then you can't really remove it without a ton of hurdles. They are at least giving them, what, like 7 months to get all their affairs in order and sell their shit. But really, realistically, the economy is already fucked, right?
It's done, yeah. It's
Like, the economy was fucked a week into the game. And then was fucked even more when the first exploit came out. It let people flip stuff for crazy profits. You know, like, the concept of the economy just was never going to work with the auction house.
And I think the deterrent was to stop people from sellers, like online sellers. That was the idea behind it, right?
Yeah, the idea was to
So that they
kinda
could profit from
push out the gold farmers so they can also make money.
Yeah, okay.
Which is similar to like what Guild Wars has done as well, actually.
Yeah.
They let you buy gems with gold and vice versa.
Yeah.
Except in that case, well, it's not really similar at all.
No, it's not.
Because you can use your in-game gold to get gems for the cosmetic stuff. And then you can use gems to get gold to buy in-game items.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's not the same, because
quite the same.
players aren't involved directly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there was an article that came out about this is just kind of going on that what the cold hard cash buddy guy. I want to say like 2 or 3 months after Diablo 3 came out, there was this big article on, I think, Forbes about a guy that made $10,000 or something like that, or something crazy. And for every player, and then it just goes hand in hand. I mean, for every player that Colin has mentioned like this that has actually gamed the system, figured out a way to make money.
But did he really? He said 1,800 hours of gameplay for $20 for $20,000. Let me work out that hourly. Hold on.
I mean, he didn't actually make a whole lot of money, but for playing a game and making $20,000.
Yeah. He also probably wasn't in that initial wave of people that made tons of money. It is $11 an hour. It's
not bad.
Not bad, especially if it's not. Well, it probably is taxed.
But to kind of put that in retrospect, I mean, I have 1,000 hours on loadout right now, and I play very sparingly.
And you've made $0. Well, that's not entirely true. Yeah, I've got 1,000 hours, and I've flown all around the country because of the game. Flown all around the country, and I get benefits because of the game.
I'm trying to think. We played Gears of War 2. Probably about 700 hours.
It's probably more than that.
You think we put in 1,000?
I don't know. I personally came out of that with like $9,000.
Yeah,
because of the 5,000 from the Old Spice Rising Star.
Yeah, you made out like a fat cat. You got that cold hard cash, buddy.
Cold hard cash, buddy. Get my bank account.
Look at my bank account. Oh man. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I am happy that this is a good change. But I think it's very concerning to me to see them flip on this because of the possible repercussions that they could have. Maybe short term. I'd say short term immediately after that happens. I think there's a potential for, like you said, the auction house is screwed already. The economy for the game is jacked up. So yeah. I don't really know how this is going to save the game, so to speak. I mean, you might as well just keep it in there so let people continue to make their money. But
I think they want like the new items they're adding in the expansion to not be able to be like immediately sold for crazy ass money.
yeah,
Like that's what they're trying to go for, is so they can make the drop rates higher with the Loot 2.0 system and not have to worry about the repercussions of.
so here's what I'm gonna say to this, and then we're gonna go into the next topic because I'm gonna just make a nice little segue. So they're coming out on consoles. You just said that.
Yep.
And consoles aren't gonna have the auction house.
Already don't. It's already out.
Is it for PS3?
Yeah.
Okay, so no auction house on PS3, and it's supposed to come to PlayStation 4, correct?
Believe so.
Okay, so
I could be wrong.
you have two next-gen systems that are also playable with Diablo 3, and they've clearly have a development team there. Why don't they just pull a Hi-Rez and say, fuck the PC community, y'all can keep the auction house, and then focus on Diablo on the next-gen systems?
Are you proposing that Blizzard says fuck the PC audience?
They're taking Diablo on the console, so why don't they just focus there and just keep? I'm not saying they have to stop the development of the game, but like just keep the auction house in.
I think they see that the reviews for the console version are already like super positive because of the auction house being gone. So I think they're probably just reflecting that and ripping it out. And also, judging from the response to that post from them, it sounds like the majority of the community accepts it happily.
Okay.
It's not like it's a big PR faux pas for them.
I bet who's ever in charge of Blizzard's PR right now, though, is just they probably were prepared for it, but
Doesn't matter, man. It's gonna be all Chinese gold farmers calling them up, be like, "What you do with my money?" That was an awful Chinese voice.
that
I'm
was
sorry.
also awful.
I can't do characters. I can't do characters at all. But I still insist on trying every now and then.
That was your Grand Theft Auto Chinese voice. Right there. So we got Hi-Rez. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Hi-Rez talks development. I don't have the link. Did I put the link in there? I put the Red 5 Studios one.
I got it from Skype.
The
The Reddit link, probably the best one. That has the actual.
That's
That's
the
the source material.
But it's from. The funny thing is they're talking about everything, but it's just for Smite. They posted it on this.
That's because they already know. They already know the Tribes community hates them. So there's the post from the CEO of Hi-Rez Studios talking about kind of their past successes and failures with Global Agenda and Tribes and how it relates to Smite. Very earnestly and transparently. I think this is probably like, I don't think I've ever seen a gaming company talk money.
Money.
Like, outside of like Mojang saying, "Look at my fucking bank account." Like, other than that, and the occasional Mojang who's just like, "Yeah, I'm rich, bitch." Like,
Yeah. We don't see this.
It doesn't happen often, especially from a company that actually has employees. Like, really, Mojang had like 4 people with him at the time when he was talking about his finances.
And what I want to take away from this is not only is that it's semi-transparent. There's some stuff obviously you can at least some room for. Well, maybe if you would have did this or this, and Tribes is where I think that a lot of them, and you know what, he admits to it though. They say, yeah, maybe they took some missteps with Tribes.
No, he says maybe they made some mistakes about how they monetized it. He didn't really know about how they treated the community.
Yeah, they didn't talk about that. Okay, I thought that was a little bit more fleshed out than just monetary. So he didn't address that then, but the Tribes community probably feels the most ripped off from this, and I'm gonna let you talk about it here in a second. But I think what I kind of took away from this, and what I want to convey to everyone out there that plays games, free-to-play games, PC games, any game that is in development, and you are wondering why a DLC isn't happening, and bar console stuff this previous gen, or why a studio has to abandon development of a game. This kind of paints a picture for you guys. They spent $30 million developing 2 games since 2005. That's a lot of money for a small studio that is basically funded by just the CEO. And they said their revenue was $10 million. Is that correct?
They spent. I saw two numbers. I saw 30 mil and 40 mil, and then they made 10 mil in revenue. Yeah, I'm not sure which is the case.
So I think he's talking about overall 40 million revenue, so to speak.
So no, it's like they were burning like.
That's an operating loss. So 20 million, basically.
Yeah.
Well, unless you include whatever's in that. But I'm going to just say basic numbers there, because I don't know the logistics. They didn't flesh it out very well. But that operating loss is why you see games developers have to say, okay, we got to step away from this. We know you guys love this game for the people that are still playing. But this, like, we have people that have to go to work and have to feed their families and they have to get money. Like, we can't continue to develop for this if the player base is dwindling, if the purchases aren't being made. There's, and people have to kind of restructure how they're doing. They either have to completely restructure how the game is, which is going to piss off people, or they have to, I hate to use this word, abandon development on a game and go towards a new IP, a new thing. And I think that really is off-putting to gamers, one, because of the age range, but there's no transparency like this of people talking about why did we do development on XYZ, or why we, and it might be NDAs, or people just don't feel comfortable talking about it. But this is probably the closest that I've felt conveys that message in a way of why a game can't sustain itself. Is because you get to see just how much money it costs to make a game where you're like, oh, I could put this together in 5 days. You guys fucking suck. Like, what, dude? Are you serious? Oh, if you just did X, Y, and Z, the game would be so much better. If I did this, everything would be so much better. It's like, no. That's not going to make tens of thousands of people, especially when other people are playing games like Call of Duties or whatever out there. When you're going up against AAA titles, I mean, you basically have to have a diamond in the rough. There are millions of games being created. And if you're sitting there bad-mouthing or wondering why a studio has to abandon the game, this is a perfect example why. Then I'm going to segue and let Colin just rip everything I just said apart with how they did Tribes. Go ahead.
That said, the argument you can make is that, I think that it's possible that those finances have quite a bit of waste. He says that the studio was at 15 people and went up to 80 at its highest peak, which is right now for Smite. At the beginning of Smite, he said they had 15 people, which I imagine would be towards the end of their Tribes project. They probably dropped some people and moved a bit, but it's probably average like 30 people, right?
Yeah.
Spending $3 to $4 million a year developing Global Agenda and Tribes. So, again, without seeing the detailed finances, you can't really say. But the one thing which I can say is that they make free-to-play games, which are services, right? Like, that's the main point of free-to-play games, that you're creating a service. Even if it doesn't use subscription costs, you're essentially paying for your enjoyment in the future. Like, you're buying cosmetics, which you plan to use in the future. You aren't buying a box product where it's a one-and-done type deal. So with Global Agenda, they kept adding content, and then they just like dropped it off of nowhere and then hopped over to Tribes. That was when they kind of determined, hey, it's not going to make us money, we're going to Tribes. So they make Tribes, they're building content. They had a really shitty monetization platform at the beginning, and then they fixed it like halfway in, although it was still like pretty expensive in terms of how it was laid out. I think it was like $10 for a character class, which is just like a set of weapons and stuff. Yeah. So like they tried to rectify it. I think in the end you could get like I can't remember what they called it. If it was like their big package, kind of like how the Smite has their Gods pack, and it was $40. So they eventually did kind of move it more into a box product, but they promised spectator mode. They added it, but it sucks. They promised modding tools. Those never came. They promised shit. Let's get my list. All of these. It's funny because this post was on the Smite forum, on the Smite Reddit, but the Tribes guys are all super bitter, so like they just bombard the threads, basically just warning the Smite people. So yeah, here's a post from I Hate This Site. So he says, over 100 days with no communication whatsoever from Hi-Rez, so it's several months now. No hotfixes, no patches, nothing. The login screen doesn't work, the server filters don't work, the spectator mode doesn't work, the demo support doesn't exist. You can modify an INI file and see every player on the map, non-traceable. There are game-breaking ping issues that were never addressed and exist to this day. And then that led into, we talked about, I think a month or so ago, about the kind of inappropriate comments from the Tribe's community manager. I think it was Bart.
That's Bart.
Was it Bart?
It was Bart, yeah.
Bart. Yeah, it was. You're right. So that was before all that, in addition to all that, rather. So all that stuff, a lot of it was features which are promised or features which just outright aren't working and are preventing people from even enjoying the game, which they spent money on. They might have just bought the classes to be able to play the game as it really should have been intended in the first place, right? But then they can't even play because the servers don't work. And last time I checked, you can't even make your own servers in that. You have to rely on the servers that are set up in the game.
Yeah. So
if the servers don't work, you can't even play because it's a service and they aren't really maintaining their service in any way. And then as of, like 7 or 8 months ago, they just dropped off development entirely, hopped over to Smite. They're still spending money as a company. They're just spending on a new game, and they just threw the other game to the wayside because it wasn't making any more money, you know?
Right.
So from a games as services perspective, they're failing each product, and if I was a Smite consumer, I'd be worried because at some point they're going to deem that Smite isn't profitable, and they're just going to drop development, and you're going to get with whatever state the game is in at that time, right? Which might be playable, might not. They might not have added any features. They might have been just churning out content that makes them money for 6 or 7 months instead of fixing things,
right?
Which is what happened with Tribes. They kept adding content. They didn't actually fix the stuff, and then they left when they finished making content.
Very fair. I mean, it's a very fair argument. I think that is completely valid, and it's hard to want to defend them, but I just like the transparency in the money spent to develop those games.
It's mostly just nice to know, right?
Yeah, it's nice to know that in the back of my mind, like, oh yeah, they spent that much money, and
I'm sure that there's about a dozen people from the Tribes community who would love to serve as financial advisors to Hi-Rez in terms of how to spend their money.
Yeah. So one quote from this, and then we can move on to Red 5, and then we'll kind of end there to get some questions from the chat. And this is just kind of games in general, but the CEO said that Tribes was also reviewed by outside publishers for both console port potential in other regions like China. The evaluations we received from numerous potential publishers was that it was too niche and difficult as a mainstream product. Their words, not ours, and they were not interested in publishing it. So the key words that I want to kind of take away from this is that the evaluations we received from numerous potential publishers was that it was too niche, it's one word, and the other one was difficult.
You made a Tribes game.
And that's what I was like.
Like, you had to have known. Like, you knew it was going to be difficult. The gameplay is fucking fast. Although a few people commented that the people that work at Hi-Rez don't even know how to play the game in terms of being able to move around the map like actual good players do. So you know it's going to be fast. You've had to have watched some footage of what Tribes was, and you say, man, this isn't accessible at all. It's really niche. But we're going to make this game anyways. And then it reviewed amazingly. Like, people were like, hey, it's niche, but this is fun as hell. So, I mean, like, you got what, like, really it exceeded expectations in terms of what the review said, in my opinion, for a niche, difficult title that you knew was going to be a niche, difficult title. So to say, like, yep, we talked to China. China wasn't having this. They said it was too niche and difficult. So I guess we just have to cancel the development. We were really counting on China and console development to bail us out on this one.
China and their almost 2 billion people. We really needed them.
I mean, it's like, if that was your plan, to go to China and do that, then you shouldn't have made a Tribes game.
You shouldn't have made a Tribes game. Completely agree.
So, I mean, like I said, I imagine that if I saw their finances, I could probably poke a billion different holes and mistakes they made. And probably the first one would be making a Tribes game, realistically, at that budget.
Yeah.
Like, make it by all means and make it awesome, but at that budget, then...
And expecting it to be niche, and expecting it not to be difficult. I mean,
Yeah,
what?
like you have to have realistic
It's
expectations, right?
tribes. It's tribes. Like, I I just don't know that. Like, that's one of those things where you have to wonder what was the expectation that they had going into it. What was the expectation? And I think he said that they didn't expect a windfall, but even then, what were they expecting people to be like? Oh, publishers, I'm gonna definitely pick this game up because it's mainstream. Tribes? I don't know. So that's that. Now, last bit is Red 5 layoffs, and why this is important is because they have stopped development on
Multiplayer.
PvP.
I don't think it's accurate.
Currently, they have stopped development.
It
Currently,
sounded like they were reworking development. They pulled it out of the game, though.
okay, that's what I mean. It's not playable. It's not playable currently in the game because it is pulled to be reworked, and the people that were laid off for Red 5 were the Stage 5 TV guys. So that was the entertainment portion.
They had an in-house TV studio that didn't just do Firefall stuff, but it also did kind of like contract work.
Yeah. So that's who it was affected the most. But what I kind of found was interesting based on the article that we have. I'm going to post this in the chat. This is one. This is from Polygon. They like to report on industry stuff like this. Is that saying the PvP? This is directly from the article, saying Red 5 Studios announced over the weekend that it will temporarily shut down Firefall's PvP, saying the PvP component suffered as a focus was directed on the more popular PvE mode. No information was provided about when PvP will close or reopen. So what I thought was really interesting about that is that kind of the parallels and what they're doing and kind of some of the things that you kind of look at with I guess Gears is a good example of like PvP and then Horde mode, right? So there was like this big huge or campaign for that matter, players that were in campaign or in Horde seemed to enjoy the game a little bit more, and the popularity in those two places was very high relative to once you got to multiplayer and PvP. And I think there is that speaks volumes. I think that should, at least to some gamers out there that are trying to find games that appeal on a PvP level. But in Firefall's case, they were trying to go competitive community. Wouldn't you say? I mean, $1 million tournament?
Yeah, it's actually, if you read the actual post on Firefall's website, I think it's interesting because the language is a bit more pointed towards the eSports approach failing, which you've kind of talked about in the past. So he said, as you know, Firefall started with PvP. We have gone through several iterations and for some time pursued the controversial eSports route. As many of you know, it's not working very well. Our last big attempt was a pure PvP eSports mode, Jetball. While very fun, it's a high-skill game and doesn't attract many of our players, less than 3% PvP in Firefall. So
3%.
3%. And Jetball was like a bombing run for those that played UT, or
Okay.
Ricochet and Halo.
Yep.
You had to kind of grab a ball and then push it down the court and then score it in the goal. Personally, the map for it kind of sucked. It wasn't that game just never really had a polished PvP, which I guess is also what he mentions in his next paragraph when he says PvP suffered because they had to focus on the PvE, which was more popular.
Exactly.
So it was like they couldn't deliver a polished quality esports PvP, and then as a result, they failed at PvP. Is kind of what he implies through the thing. And PvP never really had a chance because its player count was way less than PvE, and it probably wasn't making them any money.
Ultimately, I think that PvE, personally, I think that if you want to sustain a game like this and build on your PvP aspect, I think that you need to focus on more than just multiplayer. player versus player. Like if you want to do multiplayer, PvE is definitely the way to go when trying to sustain community, or just having it so that you can play against bots or something like that. Just so you're not having to always go into PvP. And the biggest thing, and this is what I kind of talked about. We talked about this multiple times now on the show. Do not fucking market your game as an esports title. Period. End of story. Do not make that your focus. Do not market it like that. Do not. Nope.
Dota?
Don't count.
It doesn't count? You just throw it out the window?
No, it doesn't count. You want to know why? Dota does not count because it was already a game before it became what it is now. And not only that, when you look at Dota, the community that was there, I mean, there was no esports. It didn't build. It didn't say, okay, well, this is for the competitive guys of Warcraft. It was just Dota.
What do you mean?
It wasn't. No one was sitting there like, oh, let's have this Dota.
They just didn't consider it esports. So there was competitive play since the beginning of Dota.
So
they used to, in fact, in the loading screens for Warcraft 3, on the map screen, they actually would announce the champions from those recent tournament on the load screen for the mod.
But I'm saying that developers and
Dota was
people that were
esports.
making the mods, no one was saying that this was esports.
Well, no, they were also just making it for themselves, essentially.
Exactly. It was just a fun thing to do, and it was competitive. They weren't like, this is going to be the next esport. You guys need to play this shit because it's going to be the next esport. And Dota 2 isn't really saying that. They're supporting it, for sure. They're definitely supporting it. But the numbers suggest in that game that it's way more focused on just making a good game. They're just building features that make it friendlier for a spectator title. And the precedent was set from League, which is why Dota 2 is even, in my opinion, being made, is because of the success of League of Legends, which wasn't an esports title. So I feel like the MOBA genre
You might be wrong.
I don't. Do you think there was two? There was two.
I think they started development because Ice Frog was at Valve at the same time that.
Heroes of New Earth was the one that was supposed to be competitive, not League.
Yeah, Heroes of New Earth would suffer from more issues than just being made for esports.
But that was what it.
That's usually what it is. It's like games will come out and say they're for esports, then they'll fuck up stuff not only on the esports side but overall. I think that if you make a multiplayer only title that's focused at it, then you might have a shot. But if you try to do multiple things and you point towards esports as your primary source of income,
you will fail.
You'll fail. But I feel like if you make a single box title that has esports as a focus and you do it correctly, hell.
Who?
Street Fighter. Dive Kick. Marvel.
Dive Kick is not. Dive
Kick is literally a game about the esports community.
It is a game about the esports community.
Literally.
It's not an esports title.
It's literally. There's fucking Jabali in the game. You got Markman in the game. How you gonna tell me?
It is not an esports title.
It's more esports than any game more esports than any game we've discussed.
Dave on the show said, he was like, hey guys, like, you know, we would just be happy if it's competing there and they have it at events, but that's like not our focus. He said that. It was like,
he didn't say that's not their focus. He just said that it'd be nice if it happens, but they're not going to worry about it.
Exactly. It's not their focus. That is the same thing as not worrying.
Yeah, their focus is on selling copies, which they did by making it a game about esports.
So I'm going to take my PS Vita, which is where the game is selling like hotcakes. That's going to be the next title because they're focused on esports on the Vita.
No, it doesn't have to be successful at esports. It was just focused at esports.
No, it's joking. There's
a game can be created for esports, but succeed outside of the esports realm. Hell, Firefall. It was made for esports, and is succeeding out of the esports realm in the PvE realm.
Something that they didn't even try, because the PvE is what people want to play in a game that is that difficult.
I'm just like stabbing holes in your argument right now. Just saying.
No, you're not.
Just saying.
You're not stabbing holes in the argument. Okay, name a game right now. Name a game that outright said exactly what Firefall has said, and been like, yeah, let's let's market this to the esports guys as an esports title that is done exceptionally well. Name one.
Well, exceptionally well? I'd argue like Counter-Strike did well. CSGO. It's done well. I'd argue Dota's done phenomenal. And I still think Dota counts, personally.
I don't think Dota counts.
As far as like other games that are made specifically for esports, I can't even name that many.
Exactly.
You can't just use a small sample size as your as the basis of your argument here.
John says Prey.
Prey was not made for competitive play. Let me scroll through the Twitch list, see if there's any that actually targeted esports. Scrolling through, I don't see. Yeah, StarCraft. Kinda. Do you not count StarCraft because StarCraft 1 wasn't made for esports? Because that's really the argument you're using for Dota.
Exactly. You're trying to set a precedent on something that, like, if the precedent for StarCraft was, yeah, we're going to market to esports, I don't feel like they would be where they are for StarCraft 2.
It's really you're saying that new IPs can't succeed off the back of esports.
Exactly. If you want to say that Call of Duty, for example, was an esports title, that's incorrect. I mean, the success of Call of Duty was built on the previous ones, and now you can argue that it is an esports title, and that Treyarch specifically.
It's such a new thing, though. Like, such a new thing to make a game for esports, though.
No, it's not. It's not new at this point. It's not new.
Can you name another? Like Quake? It was probably the only one I can think of where Quake Live was like, yeah, we're making this for competitive play.
And how'd that fare?
That's one. So, and again, there's a laundry list of issues. The game played fucking phenomenally. They just didn't support it.
So there's one.
That's literally the only game I can think of. So, are you taking 0 for 1 and using that as your argument for it not working in the modern day?
No, I think that there's
a few coming up. Like Takedown is one that's aimed at esports, from the makers of like Rainbow and shit.
Yeah.
Takedown's one. Firefall was kind of one.
No, I'm counting Firefall.
I feel like Firefall was all talk.
They talked about $1 million tournament before they even had a game.
Exactly, that's all talk. That's what I'm saying.
That was marketed.
Their future work was all pointed towards PvE.
That's another one. I'm counting it.
So it's not a case of like them developing a PvP game. They were developing a PvP game, and then they realized PvE made more money during development and switched their goals. So like they didn't actually release a esports game. Hell, they're not even going to release PvP in the game.
Because that makes sense. Because you can't.
But they never gave it a chance.
Yeah, Colin.
They never gave it a chance. It was in beta, and the game was still broken when they're like, "Here, check out our sweet esports game. We're gonna do $1 million tournament for this game that's still in development. There's 3 maps you can play. There's no spectator mode, but we're gonna add it.
All right, so
the gameplay is buggy as hell, but we'll fix it in time for this tournament. That's definitely going to happen."
I do have one game that I'm gonna come in here and troll. I'm gonna troll myself and you.
I'm not trollable.
Because I hate the game, you hate the game. World of Tanks.
It wasn't made for competitive play.
You can't tell. You can't tell those dudes the Russians over there. You can't tell them that they're not. They
made a game about tanks. Like that was literally all they went with, and that's what it is. It's a game with tanks.
They're marketing to esports like crazy.
Like, man, could you imagine if we had a game that had every tank ever made, and you could roll around and blow up other tanks? It'd be amazing. And then like they made the game, they're like, man, could you imagine if there were organized teams playing with every tank ever made?
Man, that'd be amazing.
Like that was literally all they did.
Oh, Painkiller.
That wasn't made for. They didn't even have a fucking server browser. Like they didn't even have like peer-to-client servers.
Fatality, Painkiller.
They had to have a mod to make the game playable for multiplayer.
See, Fatality 1v1 Painkiller right now.
Yeah, that's awful. There's no good example.
There's none.
There's no good example.
Everyone that has
on either side
is a complete and utter failure.
It's something where, like, in the future, we'll have to see if a game is successful doing it.
Maybe.
Uh, maybe CPL will release severity at some point.
To end this, because we've already gone over ranting about this, but I want to end with some questions here. But the last thing I want to say is I personally don't think that any game with a very high skill shooter, any shooter with a very high skill ceiling can be successful as a PvP esports title. That is my personal opinion.
I'll say
maybe Counter-Strike is the only one there that is kind of pushing that into the realm of possibility, but that game is highly lethal. You do have to be really accurate, but for the most part, if you see someone, they're gonna die. Versus a game like with crazy ass movement where you're bouncing all around the walls like an Unreal or Quake. I think that those games would be better as PvE titles. Personal opinion.
Did you just say Quake would be better as a PvE title?
Yeah, because I think that I think it would have more success as a PvE title. Not that I think that is the right direction to go, but I think that the skill ceiling there is so high for players, for the majority of players, that they are intimidated about getting into the scene and trying to get better at the game.
It's largely because you're talking about as a sequel, right? Like if a Quake game come out today.
Yeah.
At the time.
Not previous Quake titles. I'm saying
Okay.
If a new Quake game was made today, or a new Unreal Tournament.
I was about to.
Yeah. Not
Man, Quake 3 would have been better as a PvE title.
No,
it would have definitely sold. It would have definitely sold a lot better if it was PvE.
No. I'm definitely talking about.
Probably would have been way more popular too.
Definitely talking about now.
I'll say I disagree on the context of it depends on how a shooter's done in terms of where the difficulty comes from. Like the difficulty comes in decision making and I don't want to use like ability usage as a blanket.
Shooters? What do you feel like is really heavy on decision making in shooters?
Like a current example?
Yeah.
Quake was one, or not Quake. Counter-Strike be one.
Counter-Strike is one.
Really, any kind of single.
Which I counted up there as like that's kind of breaking.
Gears. I mean, like any kind of single life game type is going to have lots of that kind of stuff. But even like if there was something that had more ability usage based stuff, similar to like League or Dota, where it's more like when you use an ability or how you hold off on using abilities. Monday Night Combat might be another example. If you wanted to go to like another game that wasn't necessarily your gun skill as much as it was your ability to use the character.
I don't know, dude. We won that first tournament and we just destroyed everyone.
Yeah, because we were better than everyone in every aspect. I can say it with a straight face because it was the case.
That was the case. Like, it wasn't close.
But I mean, like, if you push the skill in that way, less so than like the importance of gun skill, I think that you can have something that's accessible while also having a high skill ceiling in terms of you give more options to the player. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Is the more options you give to the player, then the less emphasis you can have on the gun skill and still have a highly skilled title.
I'd agree with that.
Movement's another example, as we've already harped on quite a bit.
Already harped on. But I still think that, for the most part, that those games would be more successful as PvE scenarios for mass consumption.
Maybe.
And I think Red 5 is going to be my...
What about PvE in multiplayer? Like Horde or Killing... I was just gonna say Killing Floor, but what I meant is Crossfire. They have like a PvE mode, but their primary mode is multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean Horde totally counts as PvE. So yeah.
But it's in the PvP wrapper, right?
In the PvP wrapper, yeah. So
it's not campaign driven, I guess is. And yeah. Titanfall is another example.
The only issue I have with current PvE Horde style game types is that they haven't been very well fleshed. Yeah, they haven't been good. They're not fleshed out very well right now. I think there's a lot of room for that specific game type to evolve and turn into something that's really fantastic. But
COD's done a lot with it.
Who?
COD's been growing that quite a bit with zombies. I haven't played the most recent iteration, but it sounds like they actually made it almost too complex. People were like, "Oh, I just wanted it to be simple, so I can shoot stuff again."
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely room for that specific style of play too.
Yeah, but I think like that kind of stuff in a PvP wrapper can give something for the PvE guys to consume. But then like all your cosmetic stuff overlaps, right? Yeah. And then you can have accessibility without having to sacrifice and add campaigns and shit.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up. Let's get the last questions for the show. I just sparked a whole nother rant discussion. That's what we have in the title: banter, all that stuff. Like, we're gonna rant sometimes.
And then we just scrap our entire lesson plan. Actually, no, we hit everything. Holy shit, we did. Everything.
Content plans for next gen. I'm just not.
We can push it whenever.
Yeah, we can push that whenever. So let's go with some questions. Halo 4. I'm gonna go back into the chat a little bit.
You just randomly saw Halo 4? Oh, it's right there.
Halo 4.
Yeah, they're
Predator.
They're talking about games made for AVP.
Does that count? Can we go ahead and throw in?
Because they paid MLG for a spotlight. Is that why we're calling it an eSports title?
Can we go ahead and put Max Payne in there too?
Every game that I guess Planetside gets put in there is an eSports title. Then, if we go with every game that has been featured on MLG because of funds.
I clicked on Sean's link there. That takes me off.
His Buffalo shirt.
Yeah. Cold hard cash.
Cold hard cash, buddy.
Have you seen Watch Dogs ad against GTA 5? 2 months are enough. Is it?
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that. I'll take a look at it. I will take a look at it for sure.
2 months are enough to visit Los Santos. Come to Chicago on November 21st. Seems fair.
Yeah. Anything else? Any questions? We have a lot of lurkers in the chat tonight.
What'd you think of Sleepy Hollow? That's the most random question ever from earlier. KY Charles, Arctic, what do you think of Sleepy Hollow?
What, the show?
The movie?
The movie with Johnny Depp?
This is so random.
The show?
I'm sure that made more sense in the context of what we were saying at the time.
Maybe. I
don't even know how that would.
But the show is I think going to be on TNT, and like.
Oh really?
I want to say the guy's name is Ichabod. Is it Ichabod Crane? Crane.
That was the inspector dude.
Yeah. So he gets teleported to the future. It just sounds terrible to me. He gets teleported to the future to follow the Headless Horseman. Just. I'm not excited about that at all.
Does it take place in space?
No, it should though. not in the present day future, not in the future. The present day future.
Oh, so the current.
Yeah.
The present.
The present. But he
goes
teleported
to the present.
Hollow, but no, he gets teleported to the future, which is the present in our time.
And the president is the past.
Now we're in Inception right. It's Inception right now. Look. You see what Father Russia brought up, and what I was going to bring up this show.
Specifically, you were going to bring up the false rumor about Justin Bieber being Robin. Which was actually just a Funny or Die skit, which they're filming soon.
Which is very funny to me, which I thought was comedic, and I was very upset. Not only do we get Ben Affleck as Batman now, but we're going to have Justin Bieber as Robin. I was like, well, why don't we just get Arnold Schwarzenegger and
as Mr. Freeze?
As Mr. Freeze?
I would love Arnold to reprise his role as Mr. Freeze 20 years later.
Candace said,
there is nothing I would love more than Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Mr. Freeze in the new Batman movie.
Karen was like, well, why don't we just get Mini-Me to play Penguin, and then we're good. So, I don't know. I'm not... I like Ben Affleck as an actor sometimes. Some of the things that he does like aren't spectacular. More of his early stuff. Now, I mean, he's done some pretty good things. Like The Town is pretty good.
It's gonna be fine. Christian Bale is bad. Like, I didn't really like the really. Yeah, like I didn't.
I'm Batman.
I'm sure some people are gonna hate me for this, but like Batman as a character isn't even that cool.
Oh, why you have to go there? See, you just ruined the show, Colin. Why you gotta you destroy fun? What is wrong with you?
He's pretty cut and dry, right? Like when he's in costume and doing his shit, it's super predictable and boring.
You know what, guys? Go ahead and dislike this show. If you're on YouTube and you're watching at this point, just give it a thumbs down.
Superman greater than Batman. Superman isn't greater than Batman. Superman has worse problems.
I don't even care, guys. Just go ahead.
They're both awful.
Give it a thumbs down.
The villains in Batman are far more compelling than Batman himself.
Go ahead and tweet #Skyllus.
I'm able to relate more to the villains than I am Batman.
No fun. Go ahead, guys. We're gonna tweet this in chat.
Just saying. Yeah, right? Like, let's have a superhero with no superpowers. Come on. And then let's have a superhero with all the superpowers in Batman. Yet for some reason, these two are the big comic big shots. This makes no sense. Makes no sense to me. I'm excited for Thor.
Well, you gotta.
I'm just saying, like, the characters in Thor are far more compelling. I have the same issue with the Avengers. Like, most of them are just boring. Not all of them, but most of them.
Thor's cool. Tony Stark, I should say, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man he hits the role very well.
It's more just him playing himself, yes.
Yeah, him playing himself is perfect. Hulk has been a disaster. It just has been a disaster. I like his character.
That character can be so good, but they haven't done Hulk justice still.
I don't feel like
Captain America is boring as hell.
Captain America was very dry.
Like, his backstory is the only interesting thing. Like, that little bit of backstory that he has is interesting.
He's a dry Marvel. I mean, see, we're getting into the comic stuff, and then we're gonna have people are gonna be raging in the comments.
That's fine, but let them rage. I know I'm right. I know I'm right on the Batman thing.
Come on now.
The character was written like 80 years ago, when like that was new and edgy. Like, oh man, he's a guy who during the day is a regular millionaire, just like us. But at night, he puts on the costume and becomes a superhero. Like, that was so innovative back then. Now it's like every single superhero is like that.
Who?
And he has no powers. No powers.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with
Superman does the exact same thing. He works in an office, then he just turns into Superman. Just saying. It's not cool.
What's the name of that movie with the green superhero?
Green Lantern?
No, not Green Lantern. The normal dude. It's like
Kick-Ass?
Kick-Ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I haven't seen the new one. That's a parody. That's a parody of the exact stuff I'm arguing about. Kick-Ass is making fun of Batman, and people don't even realize it. Like, the entire point of Kick-Ass is to make fun of Batman.
No, he wants to stand up for what's right. He wants to be a normal dude that stands up for what's right.
Yeah, he just wants to protect the city.
Colin.
Just wants to protect the city.
If you're on YouTube, guys, just go ahead, thumbs down.
During the day, he's just a normal kid, and then at night, he turns into Kick-Ass.
Colin hates fun. He doesn't like fun. He's always
That's not true at all.
As you get older, Colin, you just get more bitter.
That's worrying. That's really worrying for me. I think that when I'm like, actually, I'd probably hit it around 30. I think if around 30, I'm going to be the most bitter old man in America.
Oh, man. So
I'm pretty sure it's just leading up to it. And then at 30, it'll just be, this show will be like things I hate. And it'll just be me ranting for an hour about stuff I hate when I'm 30.
Fun hater. So, yeah. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and end the show with Colin just being bitter old man.
Show your support for me on Twitter. Show your support for me on Twitter, @Skyzen.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, follow him if you're not. Just tweet at him, #FunHater. All day. But hope you guys enjoyed this show. It's a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
I really wanted to get some guys on the show from the chat, but we're going to have to figure out how we can properly do that in a timely fashion so that it's not all a mess. But yeah.
I'm inclined not to let anyone do it after no one came on when I gave him open mic a couple weeks ago.
So
I'm inclined to just ban guests forever.
Episode episode 34. Open mic. Open mic. Subscribers and Twitch followers and anyone that wants to get in. We'll try to do with that. You want to do that, Colin?
I say we just go on the side of Chaos and just post the link and let 8 people join or whatever.
Okay.
And then I will man the switchboards and do it. What's the show? ESPN. Why am I drawing a blank right now?
On the I don't remember. I don't
Around the horn.
Around the horn.
Yeah, I'll do the around the horn thing and just slam on the red buzzer and turn people off.
Yeah. All right.
I think that's the most fun way to do it.
Okay. We'll do around the horn.
And just no one be bitter when you're
gonna be bitter the whole time.
Exactly, and I get to enact my bitterness by just muting people.
All right.
It could be fun.
Episode 34, around the horn. You guys heard it. Colin's gonna be bitter old man. That's all I'm gonna be tweeting the whole time.
We'll give scores too. I'll give scores when I'm not bitter.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do it just like that then. Around the horn.
All right.
Later, guys.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.